Welcome to the Inside Texas Press Conference Reaction. I'm Joe Cook. That's Evan Veith. Thank you for watching. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Have it come in here all week as we get ready for the Kentucky game. Of course, go to the first link in our description. That'll get you to InsideTexas.com. Sign up, get your first week for just $1. You're going to want to stick around after that. So Steve Sarkisian just got done, talking about the Oklahoma game, looking a little bit ahead at Kentucky. And there was a little bit of an echo of his post-game press conference where it's like, I heard y'all talking shit. Kind of softened the language a little bit now that he's a little bit away from the battlefield. But what he was saying was, hey, whatever y'all write, whatever's said, whatever happens as this bee flies in my face, doesn't really matter. Because you know what? You got to have resolve. You have to be able to go and just take on whatever happens each and every week because that's what's required. But also every SEC opponent's pretty tough.
Yeah, he said when asked what he's most impressed with his team after halfway through the regular season, which is exactly where we're at, is he's been most impressed with exactly that, the resolve of this team. And I think of two different points right after the Florida game, being able to bounce back and have what sounds like, from all accounts, their best practice week of the year leading up to Red River. And then that second half coming out, you're down against Oklahoma. Your offense has struggled a little bit to get the ball moving. And then suddenly you go on a 14-play, 75-yard drive that pretty much dictates how the rest of the game is going to go in Texas's favor. So the Longhorns know that just because this last week was this momentous win for the program and a big one in a big rivalry game doesn't mean that they can just get complacent going forward, because as Sarkisian noted, every SEC game is a tough one. I don't care what you think Kentucky is ranked. Even as maybe the bottom two team in the conference, they have all of their games have been close. And think about Ole Miss, a team that's currently ranked in the top 5, barely got away from that Kentucky team. So Sarkisian mentioned that no matter what, a road game at night, which is what's going to be in Lexington, is going to be tough for any SEC team.
Yeah, Texas has never played at Kentucky, played in 51, played in 2024, both in Austin. And, we talked about this move to the SEC. This is still such a novel thing for everybody where, everybody was like, oh, Ames at night. And some bad Texas teams gave that place a little bit more, I guess, of just an ability than it really has. Well, Kroger Field is that size, and Kentucky's probably a little bit better, maybe not overall over this year, but kind of on the whole than that Iowa State program. They've got the physical skills. They've got some guys outside. They've got, they don't have a better quarterback than Iowa State, but there's just some things at that Kentucky program where all that stuff we would give to Iowa State, for example, Kentucky has that, even if their record doesn't show it in the SEC. So a lot of talk about resolve and what's necessary for this team as they have 2 more road games in the month of October, still not coming back home until November 1st, and then that'll be waiting for Diego Pavia. Texas had 3 guys get Player of the Week honors. I think it was Manny Muhammad getting Defensive Player of the Week. You also had Ryan Niblett share Special Teams Player of the Week, and then Colin Simmons shared Defensive Lineman of the Week. Let's start with Niblett, and one of the things that really stood out to me, gets that 75-yard punt return. And Sark has talked often about what he does for this team and what all he's changed. But something about his status with the team and almost status without the team was what stood out to me from Sark today.
Yeah, Sark and Niblett as well on Saturday were very real about his journey with this program. He talked about how coming in, all these players think that they can be that guy, because when you're recruiting 4- and 5-star prospects at the level Texas does, everyone was that guy in high school. And so Niblett played Wildcat quarterback, he played running back, played receiver in high school, but didn't immediately break onto the scene for this Longhorn team. And Niblett said on Saturday, Sark said it today, there was points where there were talks about him transferring, maybe not being a part of this program long term, but he's really stuck with it. And what really stood out to me when Sarkisian was naming what Niblett does so well is 6 different positions he's played for the Texas Longhorns at some point. Offense, defense, 3 different spots on the special teams. He's done everything for this program. It's finally good to see a guy like that get rewarded and have the biggest play of the year so far on that punt return.
Yeah, I don't care what wasn't flagged. The fact that it happened for him was a big deal just because he's given a lot to the program. He's worked hard, and, he got the glory for it. They can send in whatever they want to the league office. Everybody sends in plays to the league office, but it's not going to undo it.
Auburn will be for sure.
Yeah, Special Teams Player of the Week. Colin Simmons, we can say what we want about him. It's usually not enough, but a big game statistically. But it's part of a big game for basically that whole defensive line room, including his partner in crime, essentially, in Brad Spence.
Yeah, Brad Spence got a lot of snaps with Simmons because that defensive line on first and second down. We're putting them into third and long for Oklahoma. And then when Texas can come out in this, I don't even want to call it a NASCAR package because it's not what it was last year, but when they have Simmons and Spence and Anthony Smith and Anthony Hill just flying at the quarterback, I don't care if it's John Mateer or whoever you think the best quarterback in the nation is, that's a tough group to deal with. And Spence had a fantastic game. Simmons did have, I think, maybe his best game as a Texas Longhorn, just start to finish. He played, I think, a career high in snaps, or at least close to it, and 2.5 sacks, got later corrected to 3, I believe, is a career high. So Simmons is very deserving of that number and that honor of the co-player of the week. He was dominant against Oklahoma.
I know everybody wants to be Micah Parsons and stuff like that. He did kind of look like that with the way they use him, just not putting him in one spot in a while. But when you can do that and have Brad Spence either alongside him or even spelling him, and then you have the rest of that defensive front that's played so well, Lance Jackson, Ethan Burke, Zena Umeozulu, the defensive tackles, that whole crew, everybody got what I know Colin Simmons gets the glory for that one, but I think he's going to look around and maybe say, like, you know what, guys, like, I was leading the way, but it was a team effort.
Yeah.
Malik Muhammad, I wrote about this yesterday. Pete Kwiatkowski, when he's going against the old school air raid, there is no raid. He shuts it down. That's what it looked like, especially since John Mateer wasn't able to run the football. Malik Muhammad was the guy leading it. 2 picks, great game. And that shows how valuable and how missed he was against Florida.
Yeah, and I think you can look at some of those picks and go, one of them at least was definitely thrown to him. It was a bit of a gift on that second one to end the half, but that first one was an impressive play. And then you look at all the other plays he made in the game, 40-plus more snaps outside of that, where he is covering the top players on Oklahoma's receiver group, which is kind of a committee, but you're talking about Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania. When he was on them on the outside, there was nothing going on. When Oklahoma was getting yards, it was mostly on these seam rips, and think of that play where Texas had like 15 men on the field. That's not a Muhammad assignment right there. He was dominant and surely should be the player of the week for that defense. Across the country, he might have been the best defensive player. I don't know if they do the cross-country ones quite yet, but what a difference it made to have him out there compared to what it was against Florida, where Kobe Black had some struggles. In general, the depth just wasn't showing out the way you'd want to against Dallas Wilson, who you mentioned earlier. Having Muhammad back makes all the difference for this defense.
Quick timeout. If you have a move coming up in the Dallas area, put real estate agent Josh Holden in your starting lineup. He's a UT grad, a lifetime Texas Ex, and he scouted every inch of the Metroplex. From Highland Park and Preston Hollow to Uptown and Old East Dallas, Josh Holden knows the market, and he's going to match you with the perfect home. On top of that, he has years of experience in commercial property management, so he has the playbook for contracts, curb appeal, and everything in between. Bottom line, Josh Holden is an easy win. He is reliable, savvy, and he helps you close with confidence. Reach him at josh@joshholdenrealestate.com, or you can call or text 972-917-8081. Contact info is in the description.
In this offense, they're going to have to go, or excuse me, this defense, they're going to have to go against Kendrick Law. I think he was at Alabama. Yes. Texas recruited him, I think, out of high school, Shreveport area. And then I think they looked at him in the portal. But he's the guy at Kentucky because they're all their good wide receivers left. Ashton Kozart, if you remember that name, he's there, not doing a whole lot for the Kentucky Wildcats. Their offense is like, well, there's a guy over there. Let's just try, because not a whole lot else is working, no matter who's at quarterback. But at the same time, we talk about receivers. And everybody looked last week at Dallas Wilson. And I can't remember if Vermeil Brown's a freshman or whether or not. Okay, there you go, another freshman. They see that freshman wide receiver working well. They see what Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith did last year, what Cam Coleman did last year. They're looking at guys just around the country who are playing in their first year and wondering, what's going on? Why aren't Khalid Lockett doing this? And Jamie French and Michael Terry and Dalen McCutcheon, why is he, who is technically the lowest rated guy of that crew, getting all this opportunity? And Sark said, like, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to play? And granted, it's not like everybody's arguing like hockey shift them, put them all out there on the field at the same time. But what's he going to do when you have Emmett Mosley, you have DeAndre Moore, you have Ryan Wingo and Parker Livingstone, and by just habit, by what you've done for the last 10, however many years, 5 years at Texas, you have that short rotation. What do? What are you going to do to put one of those guys in? We'll see McCutcheon slide in. But that was a little bit of the explanation we got about why Khalid Lockett, Jamie French, Michael Terry aren't seeing a lot of time at this point. He made sure to compliment them, but he's like, look, they're improving. So are guys like Wingo and Livingston and Moore, who Sark said that was a little bit of an ad-lib play on that touchdown against Oklahoma that Moore caught. When you got guys doing that and making some good plays, even though you're not stressing things downfield in this offense, kind of tough to, move ahead of guys who've been doing this for a while and also are probably as physically gifted as you are.
Yeah, DeAndre Moore is so good at finding those soft spots on extended plays. I think about that scramble drill Manning had to the left where Moore's just kind of slowly working down the field, finds an open spot, gets that touchdown as well. The big thing for me that separates these freshmen from the group that Texas has right now is I don't think many schools in the country feel as confident with their wide receivers blocking for the run game than Texas does right now. Wingo's a physical guy. Parker Livingston puts in a lot of effort. Moore and Mosley, we know, are good blockers. It's hard to take those kind of guys off the field on neutral plays, 1st and 10s, 2nd and 5s, 3rd and shorts, because you want to show that you can do both. If you put out Khalif Lockett and Jamie French, it's either showing, hey, that ball's going to them on something designed that came in practice this week, or we're going to throw the ball downfield, and we're going to try to get these young, explosive guys down there. So Texas's most deep position on offense is probably that wide receiver group, and it's okay that he's not using 7 people deep into it. Have those 4 guys who are your main players out there most of the time, and sprinkle in some of Day-Day, McCutcheon. Maybe down the road you'll see Lockett and French, who he did compliment. They are improving throughout the week. Just can't get through into the rotation of 4 really good players.
Maybe they get some time this week. We'll
Yeah.
see how that goes. So thank you for watching. Just got done wrapping up with Steve Sarkisian. Don't be done with Inside Texas. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. Go to that first link in our description. Get with us for the rest of this season. 6 regular season games to go. Whatever goes on in the postseason, which, hey, after this past week, a little bit better view of that now that we're looking at it. So, Evan, thank you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. The Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.